Sound check, test one, two. Okay, we're logged in. Just wait for the student to come. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening. How are you
Welcome
today?
back. Doing good, doing good, doing good. In fact, because basically it's my mother-in-law's birthday today, so it was good
Oh,
because
yes.
we had a simple dinner. We bought a bucket of chicken joy from Jollibee and had a simple celebration before I started teaching. So yeah, doing good, doing good. Weather is a bit hot today. It's actually
Uh,
28 right now, but it feels like 35. But how about you? Welcome back. Welcome back.
yes, long 2 day, 2 day already.
Hmm. How? Mhm.
Yes, I think last 2 day, 2 days, I had a lot of job to do with my
Ah,
boss.
okay.
It's very tired. Yeah,
Very
my boss
tiring.
is
Hmm.
my boss is from New Zealand.
I'm sorry, from what?
New Zealand,
New
New Zealand.
Zealand. Okay, he's from New Zealand.
Yes,
All right, very good.
yes, yes. So we have to a long discussion about the
Hmm.
new project. So
Okay, all right.
I'm very tired. Yes.
Very tired from work, not from talking to your boss. Okay. Well, at least that's good.
From talking,
Oh, from talking.
talking only.
All right.
Because my because my English is not so good. So
Uh, well,
it's very difficult to get on his ideas.
okay.
Yes.
Just to remind you, everyone started in the low levels. I mean, for me, your English is quite fine, although there's a lot of things to be refined. But I think you can manage for now. Why? Again, English is not mainly on accents. English is not mainly on how you speak words. As I've told you, you should, establish yourself first when it comes to speaking. As long as you're confident, once you get to be confident, you move on from there. Study other accents. All right. Like for example, New Zealand has almost the same accent with Australia, a slightly different accent from the British, but they all came from one tongue. So basically, let me guess. Your boss said, "Good day, mate. How you doing?" "Oh, I'm fine." It's like that. All right. You got that.
Yes.
You get that accent. But again, it's not all about the accent. It's how you carry yourself. Use everything that you know. Okay. But nevertheless, I am glad that you're back. I am glad that you're back. Okay. So
Yes.
you're ready. Let's go ahead.
Yes.
Please go to page 55. So we're going to, oh, sorry, 54 rather. We're just going to review 54, to refresh your memory regarding our past lesson before you went 2 day with 2 days off because of work. So tell me once you're there. Page 54, letter E. That's partly at the bottom.
Yes.
Okay. If you remember letter E, we choose five sentences. Not actually five sentences. We tackled all of them, and you were able to answer them well. Not a problem. And then also we listened to Charlotte and Victor. Did they pass or fail? What grade did they get? And what are they going to do? We all discussed that. So now, today we're going to move on to the next page. That's page 55.
Yes.
We're going to do listening. All right. Part of course, your journey in learning English is, of course, listening. Why? Because, of course, not everything can be read. Most oftentimes than not, you learn English so that you can speak to other people who also speaks English. All right, that could be your medium of communication, and part of that is listening. So, letter A, look at this extract from a TV guide and the photo and answer the questions. Okay, this is an extract. Oh, sorry, let me my screen with you again, just to guide you, even though you still have or you have your own book. Okay,
Yes.
so number 8, that'll teach them. That'll teach them. Final part of the 6-part series following a group of modern 16-year-old high school children in a 1950s boarding school. This week, exams. Okay, now let's go ahead and answer them. Number 1, can you please read the question for number 1?
What do you think uh, the idea the idea of the program was?
What do you think the idea of the program was? Look at the picture. Look at the introduction. Again, final part of the 6-part series in following a group of modern 16-year-old school children in a 1950s boarding school. This week exams. What do you think is the idea of this program? What do you think this show wants to tell its viewers?
So in the picture, I think
Mm-hmm.
the teacher try to teach the kids
Mm-hmm.
with the I don't know how to call it in English,
The
but
stick with the stick. There's
the
actually a stick. Yeah, I think it's a bamboo stick.
stick,
Yeah,
bamboo stick,
yeah, because
and to
in our time, we know in our time, teachers has like a stick. They will point it in the board. Okay, children, listen. I want you to read this, that, blah blah blah. It's used to point, but most oftentimes not. We both know that it's used sometimes to hit us. Bang!
yes,
You're not listening. Blah blah blah. There's like that, right? Brings pretty much
yes,
nostalgic. Okay. Well, your answer is correct. It's basically a teacher teaching a student. In this case, she's actually let me take this off. She's actually pinching this one. It's like that because I think the student did something bad. You know, at that time it's allowed, but
yes,
today nowadays no. A teacher could end up in jail if he or she would do that to a student. So, let's continue. Good. At least
yes,
you have an idea. It's about boarding school. Boarding schools, say for example, sometimes in the UK, in the US, Switzerland, wherever. Okay, number 2, please read the question.
uh, which of the things do you think pupils hated the most?
Okay, before you proceed, I want you to repeat this word. Say it after me. These.
This.
Not this, these. Why? Let me differentiate the two. You said this versus these. Okay, this is much more of a stressed within the last part or within the first part, like this stressed going down. Okay, This. It has this. No, no, no. Wrong one. This one is the shorter version. This. It's just straight up stressed word. This pertaining, say, for example,
yes,
this is a pencil, while these, the one that you're looking for, is a long variant. These. Okay. I'm talking about, say, for example, how many pencils do I got?
this,
Yeah, it's more than one. So these.
yeah,
Say, for example,
this,
in your standpoint, let's say I have my friend and I have another friend. Let's say you're the teacher, we're your students. So, in your point of view, you will say these students because I am more than one. I have my friend B, friend letter C.
yeah,
Okay. So, again, can you say it again? These.
this,
Okay. These.
this,
That's much more better. Good. Next. Can you repeat this one after me? Hated,
hated,
not het.
hated,
Hated. Yes. What does it mean? You don't
hated.
you don't love it. You loathe it. You don't like it. You hated it. Okay? So, what do you think? Which of these things do you think pupils in that school, in that boarding school or boarding house or boarding school rather, hated the most? What do you think they don't like here?
Uh, the, having cold showers,
Having cold, say cold. Ko and then L and then D. Cold.
cold,
Okay, very good. Having cold showers. What else? Can you give me a couple of more?
and having a lot of homework.
Having a lot of every student doesn't like homeworks. Be honest with me, Jen. Do you like homeworks when you were still studying?
Yeah, yes, of course,
You like
I'm
uh-huh.
different.
Okay, I know. You're
Yes,
smart. You're very studious. You like studying. I will be honest with you. I don't like homework. I don't like homework. When you reach, your house or home, you should just be, studying but not doing further homeworks because through the educational system that I experienced, it's too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Homework is not a bad thing. It's a okay. But where I came from,
but yes, but sometimes I think if we have no homework, we will become lazy.
well, as I've said, I have nothing against homework. As I've said, the difference is that maybe in your part of the country, it's just light. Where I came from, it's excessive. Why? Imagine you have to study 8 subjects per day. Per subject, that would be, they would give you assignments up to like 16 pages. You have to do research. And I agree with you. If we don't have a homework assignments, we tend to be lazy. But, say, for example, I don't like homeworks that are too much. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your Saturday and Sunday, or you can spend it with your family and do some other stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. What else? Do you have anything to add?
It's wearing a uniform.
Wearing a uniform. All right. Let me add this. Not being able to use mobiles. Why? These are modern kids, millennials basically, and they were taken to a 1950s boarding school, which is totally different from our time right now. All right. So what we're gonna
Yes.
do? Okay, let's answer number three. What do you think the discipline was like? How do you think the children were punished for behaving badly?
Yes. I think the discipline in the boarding school at that time is good for the pupils.
Good. Good for the pupils, good for the students. 1950s is a long, far away time for our era, but we definitely know it is very much disciplined. The system in that school or in those schools at that time were very, very much disciplined. Imagine you're living inside the school. So when you get up, you don't need to walk going to school or to drive yourself going to school. You'll just go like a few floors from your room going to your class. The teacher would know
Yes.
if you went to class or not. So definitely there will be punishment if you disobey, you know, uh, the rules basically. All right, very good. Okay. From my standpoint, next question, how do you think the children were punished for behaving badly? They were physical and mental. Why? Sometimes students at that time are being hit with a stick. Remember the stick?
Yes. Bamboo stick.
Yeah. When we moved here to the Philippines, and I remember I had a classmate that the teacher threw an eraser, a blackboard eraser, to the student because the student was sleeping, and I was like, whoa, these things happen here. That's crazy. But nowadays, as I've said, you can't do that anymore. You will be thrown into jail if you do that to a student. Okay, next question. Do you think the pupils did well or badly when they took the 1950s exam?
Yeah. I think the people did well
Did
the
well
exam.
with the exams.
Yes.
Okay, we will find out. We're going to listen to 4.7. Listen to a TV critic talking about the program that'll teach them. By the way, this phrase right here, that'll, is a combination of the word that and will. Okay. How about the M in that'll teach them? M, sorry, M, oh, it's not typing. M means them. So it's more like a shortened version. That'll teach them, supposedly. But this one was shortened. That'll teach them. All right. Let's go ahead. 4.7. Hold on.
Yes.
Let me stop sharing for a bit. Here we go.
4.7.
Hello, and welcome to our review of the week's TV. With me today is the television critic Michael Stein. Michael, what did you think was the best programme of the week?
Well, I've chosen the last programme in the Channel 4 series, That'll Teach 'Em. I must say, I found the whole series absolutely fascinating. For those of you who didn't see it, what the programme did was to take a group of 30 16-year-old children and send them, as an experiment, to a boarding school for 1 month. But it wasn't a modern boarding school, it was a 1950s boarding school. They recreated exactly the same conditions as in the 1950s. The same food, the same discipline, the same exams. The idea was to compare education today with education in the 1950s.
I bet it was a shock for today's school children.
Well, it was, of course. It wasn't just the classes, it was the whole atmosphere. I mean, they had to wear the uniform from the 50s. Horrible, uncomfortable clothes. They hated them. And they weren't allowed to leave the school once for the whole month, or watch TV, or use mobiles. And they had to have cold showers every morning, and go for cross-country runs.
What was the worst thing for them?
The food, definitely. Most of them hated it. They said it was cold and tasteless, and the girls didn't like the cold showers much either.
What about the classes?
Well, of course, the biggest difference for the kids was the discipline. It was silence all the time during the lessons. Only the teacher spoke. and anyone who misbehaved had to go to the headmaster and was either caned, hit on the hand, or had to stay behind after class and do extra work. And of course, they couldn't use computers or calculators, but curiously, the kids didn't really mind that. And in fact, most of them found the lessons interesting. Some of them said they were more interesting than their normal lessons. They had to work very hard, though.
So what happened in the end? Did they pass the 1950s exams?
No, most of them failed, although they were all really bright children. There was only one child who actually passed all the subjects.
So do you think that means exams really used to be harder in the 1950s?
No, I think the kids failed because exams in the 1950s were very different. The children in the programme will probably do very well in their own exams. On the other hand, 1950s children would probably find today's exams very difficult.
How did the kids themselves feel about the experiment?
They were really positive. In general, they had a good time and they all felt they learned a lot. I think it made them appreciate their own lifestyle more. Some of them actually said it was the best month of their lives. It was an interesting experiment and the programme was really well made. I very much enjoyed watching it.
Okay. All right. Basically, that is the interview. All right. Would you like to listen again or would you like to answer now?
Yes, listen again. It's
Okay.
too long.
It's too long. Okay.
4.7.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to our review of the week's TV. With me today is the television critic Michael Stein. Michael, what did you think was the best programme of the week?
Well, I've chosen the last programme in the Channel 4 series, That'll Teach 'Em. I must say, I found the whole series absolutely fascinating. For those of you who didn't see it, what the programme did was to take a group of 30 16-year-old children and send them, as an experiment, to a boarding school for 1 month. But it wasn't a modern boarding school. It was a 1950s boarding school. They recreated exactly the same conditions as in the 1950s. The same food, the same discipline, the same exams. The idea was to compare education today with education in the 1950s.
I bet it was a shock for today's school children.
Well, it was, of course. It wasn't just the classes. It was the whole atmosphere. I mean, they had to wear the uniform from the 50s. Horrible, uncomfortable clothes. They hated them. And they weren't allowed to leave the school once for the whole month, or watch TV, or use mobiles. And they had to have cold showers every morning, and go for cross-country runs.
What was the worst thing for them?
The food, definitely. Most of them hated it. They said it was cold and tasteless, and the girls didn't like the cold showers much either.
What about the classes?
Well, of course, the biggest difference for the kids was the discipline. It was silence all the time during the lessons. Only the teacher spoke. And anyone who misbehaved had to go to the headmaster and was either caned, hit on the hand, or had to stay behind after class and do extra work. And of course, they couldn't use computers or calculators. But curiously, the kids didn't really mind that. And in fact, most of them found the lessons interesting. Some of them said they were more interesting than their normal lessons. They had to work very hard, though.
So what happened in the end? Did they pass the 1950s exams?
No, most of them failed, although they were all really bright children. There was only one child who actually passed all the subjects.
So do you think that means exams really used to be harder in the 1950s?
No, I think the kids failed because exams in the 1950s were very different. The children in the programme will probably do very well in their own exams. On the other hand, 1950s children would probably find today's exams very difficult.
How did the kids themselves feel about the experiment?
They were really positive. In general, they had a good time and they all felt they learned a lot. I think it made them appreciate their own lifestyle more. Some of them actually said it was the best month of their lives. It was an interesting experiment and the programme was really well made. I very much enjoyed watching it.
Okay. All right. So let's check your answers. All right. Let's check your answers prior to us listening to the audio. I asked you questions regarding the story. What do you think, or which of these things do you think the pupil hated the most? One of your answers are wearing uniforms, having cold showers, not having a lot of homework, not being able to use mobiles, including my answer. And does it surprise you that all of these things, not being able to doing going for cross country runs, I mean, all of these answers here are the things that
Y-
the pupils hated the most. Is it surprising to
Yes.
you? Yeah. Why? Can you please tell
Yes.
me why?
Yes. Sorry.
No, can you please tell me why? Is this surprising? My question is this surprising that, all of the answers here, the food, not being able to watch TV, not being able to use mobile phones, all the way up until having cold showers, are the pupils or what the pupils hated the most? For me, basically, it's no longer a surprise. Why? Back in our days, we have, very basic necessities. We can when I took a shower when I was a kid, I do have cold showers. We don't have a heater here. We only have a heater back back in the States, but not here. It took us like a year or two before we can buy a heater. Having a lot of homework, so it's kind of like not very surprising anymore. But now, what we're going to do is we're going to mark the sentences T for true or F for false. Okay? I will read the questions 1 to 10. You'll only have to provide T for true or F for false. You can write it in our chat box. Okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Number 1. 16 children took part in the experiment. Again, 16 children took part in the experiment. Is it true or T
So
for true or F for false? You'll have to type in your answer for number 1 all the way up until 10. Type your answers in our chat box. Type in T if it is true, F if it is false.
yes. I will try pop up.
Number 1, let me repeat. 16 children took part in the experiment. Is this true or false? Okay, your answer is there. Number 2, they didn't have to sleep at school. Again, they didn't have to sleep at the school. Is this true or false?
Or
Okay, your answer is false. Number 3, the uniforms were not very comfortable. The uniforms were not very comfortable. Okay,
true.
number 4, they had to stay inside the school grounds all the time. They had to stay inside the school grounds all the time. Okay,
True.
true. Number 5, the children weren't allowed to talk during the classes. Again, the children weren't allowed to talk during the classes.
True.
Number 6, they really missed being able to use computers and calculators. Again, they really missed being able to use computers and calculators.
True.
Number 7, they thought the classes were boring. They thought the classes were boring.
It's false.
False. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for today, but let me record or copy your answers here. I'm going to keep them here in my notepad because we are going to continue with this tomorrow as we continue with the lesson. It's just that, yeah, we don't have enough much time, but I'll definitely see you again. Thank you for attending your class.
Yes. See it.
Welcome back, and I hope
Thank.
you'll be able to rest for
Thank.
tonight. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Jen. Welcome back, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
See you tomorrow. All right.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.